Good morning, welcome or welcome back. My name is Sydney and I appreciate you clicking on this video to listen to me yap. So, let's talk literacy, or rather, lack thereof. As I'm sure you're aware, there is currently a major cause for concern in the lack of basic literacy in US children and teens. So I want to explore some of the things we are seeing, look at contributing factors, and emphasize the importance of reading comprehension, critical thinking, and independent thought. First, some stats. Children are being exposed to fewer and fewer books at home. Apparently, about a third of children entering preschool in 2025 didn't know how to handle a book properly, with some trying to swipe at pages as if they were a phone or tablet. A lot of this is due to the large amount of screen time afforded to these kids at home. In the US, 40% of children have their own tablet by the age of 2, and 48% of children ages 0 to 8 have watched short-form content on platforms like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram Reels. Additionally, caregivers are reading print books with their children less often. A survey conducted by the National Institute for Early Education at Rutgers of roughly 1,000 parents of children ages 3 to 5 between 2020 and 2023 found that shared reading habits have still not fully recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. Pre-pandemic, 85% of parents read to their children, but this fell to 65% during the pandemic and has only risen back to 73% by December of 2023. Top factors listed as preventing parents from reading to children included "I am too tired," "My children won't sit still long enough," and "My child prefers screen time." This lack of reading time with parents, increased screen time, and exposure to short-form content at a young age all make reading more difficult for young children by not building their foundational skills and reducing their attention span. Older students are struggling too, with noticeable declines in math and reading, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, average scores for age 9 students in 2022 declined 5 points in reading and 7 points in mathematics compared to 2020. This is the largest average score decline in reading since 1990 and the first ever score decline in mathematics. However, I don't think COVID is the only factor to blame here. I think we can look to, again, the increase in screen time and the fact that kids and teens today are spending more time on devices and less time developing hobbies and interests such as sports, art, instruments, clubs, other extracurriculars, and of course, reading. As the saying goes, it really is that damn phone. One example of high schoolers' lack of reading comprehension was shown in this viral TikTok video.
And this score for me.
She wore a suit, clothes that were... Who's this for? Extraordinary, but somewhat Gertrude?
Now explain what that means.
I don't know.
She wore a sahalat of clothes that were extraordinary, whatever, bro, but somewhat gooch.
What does that mean?
She wore a lot. Wait, she wore, bro, I don't know, bro. Can you take the card back, please?
She wore a... Oh, baby. She wore a silhouette of clothes that were... Bitch, I don't know that word. I don't even know how to read. I don't know why I did it.
She wore a silhouette of clothes that were extraordinary, but somewhat gauche.
All right, now what does that mean?
I have no idea. Like his clothes was nice or something like that.
She were a... I don't know what this shit say.
Read it.
I don't know what this shit say. I don't know what this shit say. I can't read it. Can't read it. Cancel back.
Now, while I will say that the sentence itself is not well worded, it is very concerning that a lot of these kids don't know and can't even sound out common words. I'll acknowledge that gauche is not a very common word, but the word extraordinary is definitely common, and beyond that it is quite literally a combination of the words extra and ordinary. It's concerning that these kids have made it so far through the school system without being able to comprehend these words, and it is a clear sign that they are not reading, either for school or for pleasure. Also, while on the subject of viral TikTok content that shows a disturbing lack of children's education, I do feel as though I have to mention the TikTok trend of unschooling, which is basically the complete lack of providing your children with educational direction of any kind. Proponents of this method say that they will instead nurture the children's natural interests and inclinations, and that this will provide the child with more freedom. One example of this is the viral video from creator Mommy Unami, which I'm sure you've seen before, but I will play now just in case you haven't.
We don't teach our children anything. Everything that they learn is in response to either their interests or their questions. We have no curriculum, we have no school hours. We really just respond whenever they want to know something and do our best to make sure they really get it. And my big fear about free schooling was that if my kids only went towards what they were interested in, saving all of their real estate only for things they're interested in, not cramming it with anything necessary, I was concerned that they would never be interested in things like reading and writing and math. My son's 6, and it took some patience and not comparing myself to other moms, but this is his book. Look at this. Lamp, egg, jar, lion. This is him doing this by himself, copying down words from other places, asking us more. Same with addition. Mom, what's 7 plus 5? It will come at the right time. But if you do not like this idea of sending your kids away for 40 hours a week and then wondering why they have no energy to do anything else, if you are not into your kids conforming, trust that you can follow their interests and they will learn everything they need to learn, not what other people need them to learn. You're welcome.
Now, this logic I just find absolutely infuriating because lack of education is the opposite of freedom. Your child will not grow up to be free if they do not have the skills necessary to think for themselves. One very important component of this is reading, both vocabulary and reading comprehension skills. But unschoolers won't just sit their kids down and teach them to read and write. I feel like this is devastating to these children and to the adults that they will grow up to be. Literacy is one of the most important and necessary skills in modern society. Not only will you need the skill to be employable, but being able to read opens so many opportunities for new knowledge and experiences. Reading, along with other forms of education like math, science, and history, will give an individual access to many more potential life paths. Education allows one to become knowledgeable about the world and culture that they exist within, and to think critically about it, coming to independent decisions about how the world is and what role they want to have in it. Also, from a purely logical perspective, let's take the example of a career. A child, whether a toddler, teen, or in between, can never be relied upon to know with certainty what career path they would like to embark upon when they grow up. Certain paths like doctor, engineer, lawyer, etc. are obvious examples of careers which require good foundational and higher education. But even creative paths will benefit from foundational knowledge of reading and math. Starting a business requires math, communication, critical thinking, decision-making, and prioritization skills, all things that children will develop throughout their traditional school years. I feel like these unschooling parents are, instead of encouraging true freedom of thought, just forcing their children through lack of education to agree with their worldview. Similar things happen in cults because when you are kept in an insular community and not exposed to outside ideas, it is hard to decipher if you are being taken advantage of. And while a child might like the idea of an endless summer vacation, the adult that is left lacking in knowledge and skills shared by their peers will be at a great disadvantage in society, and I imagine will end up resenting the parents in the end. Anyway, tangent on unschoolers aside, I would just like to take a moment to look back at history so we can get an idea of the importance of literacy and the societal milestone that is the high level of literacy today. The earliest forms of written communication date back to around 3500 to 3000 BCE, but in early history, written language was a highly restricted technology which was closely tied with positions of power. It wasn't until the Middle Ages that book production became more common and the general population became more literate. However, by 1820, only 1 in 10 people worldwide could read and write. The rate of growth didn't really explode until after the expansion of basic education. Today, that 1820 statistic is reversed and only 1 in 10 people worldwide remains illiterate. This rapid rise in literacy preceded the Industrial Revolution, and it is thought that the better educated public was an important factor in the following economic growth and rise in living standards. This is because innovation increases along with the level of education in the general populace. Now, given the importance of literacy, how can we improve reading and language skills in today's children and teens? Sure, there's probably something different that can be done in the classroom to make some incremental improvements, but in my opinion, a lot of this comes down to the broader culture here in the US. Education is not prized, and we are actually seeing a rise of anti-intellectualism, especially among right-wing talking heads who want to shift blame onto higher education for furthering the culture war. Yes, college is way too expensive and access is not equitable, but the solution to that is not to attack the principle of higher education, but to question the way the system operates. In the same vein, Trump is trying to dismantle the Department of Education, claiming it is overrun by liberal thinking. I personally think that this is just a ploy to A, lessen oversight on religious communities that want to intertwine their faith with what they are teaching their children, and B, because I think that the more well-rounded knowledge and critical thinking skills people possess, the more they will start to examine this lopsided system that we are living in and will start discussing ideas that might upset the status quo. This brings us back to the point of reading comprehension, language skills, and critical thinking being key in giving people the freedom to not only choose the path that they want in life, but to even the freedom to have the time, language, and brain power to create new ideas for the world around them and try to build a better future. Aside from a culture and policy standpoint, the biggest way to make a difference in your own circle is to read to your kids, read to your nieces and nephews. This helps them build foundational skills and is also a great bonding experience. And you can engage with older kids about books too. Get children appropriate reading material for their age and skill level and try to foster that hobby. I, for example, think that every tween should read the Hunger Games trilogy. It is the perfect teen dystopia. It's entertaining, but helps kids engage in hard topics and start thinking about the way in which society is set up, who it benefits and who it takes advantage of, and how our experiences can shape our morality. Anyway, zooming out from this issue, how freaking cool is the fact that humans invented language? And beyond that, that we invented the written word. A way to communicate ideas and sentiments across time and space, to pen sentences that someone who may never know you could one day read, and be influenced by your ideas or moved by your feelings. The written word has recorded history, passed knowledge down through generations, and created stories that have withstood the test of time due to the emotional power held within them. Reading is awesome. Read to your kids. Okay everyone, thank you so much for watching. I've enjoyed the process of scripting this video, getting my thoughts together, and now being able to sit here and talk to you. There's so many things I feel passionately about, so if you care to come back for more yapping on stuff like environmentalism, social justice, individual freedoms, women's rights, animal rights, etc., please subscribe to stick around for more. And since we are talking reading today, I figured I should mention a few of my favorite reads if anyone is looking for their next one, since we adults need to foster our own love of reading as well. First up is my favorite fiction, Northwoods by Daniel Mason. It tells the story of an area of land in New England over the course of centuries, exploring the lives of people who live there and how their lives and the land are interwoven. It is very beautifully written, and I cannot recommend it enough. One quote from the book that I love is, "The only way to understand the world as anything other than a tale of loss is to see it as a tale of change." And my two second favorite fictions are Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver and The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. Both are beautiful and heartbreaking and definitely made me cry. Alright, to close out the video, let's do the bird of the day. So this is the bird. And it is the ruby-throated hummingbird, the only breeding hummingbird for eastern North America and the widest ranging of any hummingbird of North America. These tiny flyers will come to a feeder or flower garden and can often be seen flitting about through spring and summer. Ruby-throated hummingbirds will fight over the feeder when fattening up for migration, and in the fall they migrate to Central America, flying across the Gulf of Mexico in one go. Alright, and that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace and love.